It's nice and quiet in the workshop. Everyone's gone home for the day. So I thought I'd take a few minutes to talk you through the Winchester Gears LT230s, in particular the stage boxes. You'll have seen these boxes everywhere, these bright gold things. We call them the stage 1 and stage 2. And what we've done, if you don't already know, is we've taken the original LT230 Transfer Box and we've tried to improve on it without completely redesigning the thing. Looked at all its faults and usual problems that they have and tried to refine them a little better than they were. But we've got to give it its due. The LT230 Transfer Box has been around since the 1980s and it's a pretty robust thing. So all we can do is try and make it a little better. This one here is the stage 2, which is the one to go for. And the first thing we do is we take a casing, strip these down, clean them, blast them, and we rebore this hole and we rebore this hole. And there's different reasons for each one. We rebore this one because, as a lot of you will know, these casings are an absolute bastard for leaking oil. They wear the bore and oil starts to leak past the O-ring and then drip, drip, drip all over your driveway, all over your parking spots, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Once that's worn and once that's leaking, without remachining the transfer box and fitting a sleeve, that is going to leak forever. So we bore them out and we fit this nice little steel bush and that fixes that problem. Once that's fitted, it should never leak again from there, and that's one problem solved. The other thing we do is rebore this hole here, and we have these CNC machines now, so they are 100% accurate and it speeds the job up as well. So this one's a problem for overheating, or once the transfer box gets a little bit warm, too warm, you give it a bit of a stick trying to get out of a hole or something like that, and all of a sudden transfer box expands, the bearing from the main shaft spins, and all of a sudden it wrecks this nice bore in here and your main shaft of the transfer box is destroyed and you end up with something like this. And you should be able to see on there that this is exactly what's happened. The bearing spun, it's cracked the casing, it's blown the whole thing apart, and that's probably happened in the space of about 5 to 10 seconds and detonated, and the whole thing's over there. For whatever reason, we seem to see this happen more in the TDCI models, but we do see it in all of them, all transfer boxes, but more so in the TDCIs. And I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe torque, but TD5s are pretty torquey as well. So that's the casing. Once that's been machined, we drop in that little sleeve in the back and that big sleeve in the front. And that's our casing modified and ready to be painted gold. Now, you don't have to have a gold one. We're more than happy not to paint them gold, but we like to paint them gold so that we can look underneath a vehicle and quickly see whether it's got one of our transfer boxes in or not. So moving on from there, the next thing that we do, we fit a heavy duty intermediate shaft. So we get rid of the standard one, which has got a nasty habit of wearing where the bearings sit on there. So we improve that with one of our heavy duty intermediate shafts, and that fixes another problem. And the main thing with the stage 2 is this little beauty here, the ATB limited slip diff, and we use the Ashcroft ones. There is an option for Quaife ones, but we've had problems with those, and they are 3 times the money, and I don't think that they are 3 times as good. In fact, I don't think they're any better than the Ashcroft ones. I think these are incredible value for money. We've built, I think this is number 800 and something, so we fit over 800 of these now, and I've seen 1 or 2 that have had a an issue, and there's normally a good reason for that. And these are awesome. They're really robust. They don't break. They're strong as hell. And what I like about them is they tighten up that transmission drivetrain up. We have got a massive start to finish on a Defender drivetrain. We're going from the flywheel to the clutch, to the gearbox, to the transfer box, to the prop shafts, to the diff, to the half shafts, to the CVs, and finally to the drive flanges. And a little bit here and there equates to a massive slacking transmission. And these things as standard become horrible sloppy things. They wear the bronze bushes out in them. Even rebuilt ones with new bronze bushes will wear, disintegrate within a few hundred miles, and a few hundred miles of abuse, a few thousand miles of normal driving, and become clunky and slack again. In the last couple of years of building the Defenders, the 15 and 16 plate, they decided that, hey, we've been using this since 1980 whatever, why don't we improve on it for the last fucking year? And they've taken a similar design to the 2-pin diff and done away with 2 of the Planet gears in there, and that is much better, but it still pales in significance to this limited slip diff helical style gear, which has not only got its strength benefits but performance benefits as well. It's a torque biasing diff, so it will bias the power between front axle and rear axle, and that's advantageous in lots of different environments. Let's say you're driving over wet fields, down gravelly tracks. We don't need to be in diff lock. Of course, we've still got the option to select diff lock, and if we are going to go somewhere we know we're going to be losing traction all the time, stick it in diff lock. But driving down a gravelly track, driving through a wet field, we're going to balance that torque, we're going to get much better traction, much better control, and yeah. Also on the road, much more connected feel to the road. They handle better with these things in, and they just refine the whole drivetrain through and through. I can't recommend these enough. So if you're thinking about which transfer box to go to, if budget will allow, go for the Stage 2 every time. This will transform your Defender. Gear sets, you have got options of 1.6, 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, 1.003, and for the Cummins boys you can have a 0.9 gear set as well, but that is only subject to having a ZF gearbox. So, depending on what you use your vehicle for, depending on what tyre size you've got, depending on what engine you're using, and depending on what gearbox you've got, determines what ratio gear set you need. So Defenders up to TDCI were 1.4, there was a few 1.6s in there, but when they went to TDCIs, they went to the 1.2s, which is found in the Discovery boxes as well. And a lot of lads with TD5 transfer boxes will upgrade to the 1.2 because now you can cruise on the motorway or roads at 70 miles an hour without absolutely screaming the RPMs, and much higher as well. Whereas the 1.4, past 60, you're starting to get to the top end of those RPMs. So that's when the 1.2 is useful. Now, if you've got a TDI 200 or 300, I'd be cautious about going much higher than a 1.4 ratio. Especially if you're ever towing anything or hauling any weight, I think a TDI deserves to just have the 1.4 transfer box ratio in there. Start putting anything higher in that, you're going to start losing torque and power bottom end, pulling away with any weight on and what have you, will really affect that. The 1.1s and the 1.003s, they work really well with the BMW conversions, N57s, what have you. And then again, depending on what gearbox you're using and your intended use, will determine what gear set's going to work best for you. Now, if you're not sure, drop us an email, give us a call. I know we don't always answer the phone, but drop us an email, we will get back in touch with you. We'll discuss what you use your Land Rover for and what's going to be the best option of gear set for you going forward. The few other things that we do are the extended sump, high capacity sump. Stick one of these on when we can, or an extra just over half a litre of oil, which is good for cooling. If you've got a TDCI, you can fit this, but you need to fit it backwards because it fouls the exhaust. If not, all other models are absolutely fine. Chuck one of those on there, get a bit of extra cooling on there. And Ashcroft introduced these 300M output shafts. Now this really is probably over-engineering the thing. In the thousands of transfer boxes that we've seen and stripped, I've seen 3 or 4 that have snapped this shaft, and they've all had 40-inch wheels on, all been winch challenge trucks. There might have been one that wasn't. You know, you've got to be giving your vehicle some serious abuse to snap this shaft. But hey, they're not expensive, and you know, if in doubt, fit one. Over-engineer it. You know, it's only going to can only be a good thing, can't it? So I think that's about it for them. There's about a 6-week waiting time for one of these stage boxes at the minute. So if you do want one, get in touch, order one, and we will build you a lovely transfer box. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.